Hi everyone, it's Lisa Mears. Thank you for joining me today. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this shaker card using some products from the Pretty Pink Posh shop. And all products that I use in this video will be linked down in the description box below. This is the Love Hearts die. It is a background die. It has this beautiful stitching along the frame of the die. And it has these two hearts that are intertwined here in the middle with some leaves and flowers. Now this die is A2 in size, so it measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it will fit perfectly on the front of an A2 size card. So I die cut it out of some white cardstock, and I wanted this panel to have different colors on it. So I'm using a mini ink blending tool on my finger, and I'm rubbing that on some of my Distress Oxide ink in the color Shaded Lilac, and I'm adding that lilac color all around the frame of this die cut. So the frame is going to have this purple color, and then I'm also going to be using picked raspberry for the flowers. So I'm taking a new ink blending tool because I don't want to mix the ink colors, and then I'm going to tap that on the picked raspberry ink pad, and I'm just going over the flowers on this die cut. And for the leaves, I'm going to be using the cracked pistachio. So I get another new ink blending tool because, again, I don't want to mix those colors, and I tap it in that green ink, and then I just rub it on all of those flowers. So this is a fun way to add color to your background dies just by using some inks. Now you can also, if you wanted to, die cut this same die out of different color cardstock and just piece in different colors for the hearts, or even if you wanted to fill in the leaves with different colors, you can do that as well. So I also added the shaded lilac to the hearts in the center, and then I'm just going over the border one more time with the shaded lilac just to make it a little bit darker. And you can see when it's on top of a white piece of cardstock how pretty that looks. So now that I have that background complete, I'm going to go ahead and start building my shaker. So I've taken that die again and die cut 4 pieces of white cardstock. I'm actually going to use cardstock to build up the walls for my shaker. The hearts are going to be where the shaker pieces are going to be contained. So I'm going to glue all of these white die cuts together. And the piece that I added the ink to, that is going to be the piece that will be on top. And underneath that will be a piece of acetate, and then these 4 white die cut pieces. Now for my white cardstock, I used 110-pound cardstock, so it's pretty thick, and I only needed 4 pieces. Now depending on how thick your shaker pieces are that you're going to add to your hearts, that will depend on how many pieces of cardstock you need for your shaker. So how I like to test this is I just take those die cuts, I put them on a piece of cardstock and add my shaker bits, and I look to see if the cardstock is higher than the shaker bits. And in my case, it is. Now, if the cardstock is not higher than the shaker bits that you're using, you're going to need to add more cardstock layers. So instead of 4 pieces of cardstock glued together, you might need 5 or even 6, and that also depends on how thick your cardstock is. It's important that you test this before you glue all your panels together and add your acetate, because you want to make sure that your shaker bits have room inside of this shaker to move around. If your shaker bits are thicker and you don't have enough cardstock layers, then your shaker bits will not have room to move around inside of those hearts, and the acetate also will not lay flat. Okay, so moving on, I'm going to go ahead and glue all of those white panels to an A2 size card base, and I'm just using a white card base. Now if you wanted to have another color display underneath your hearts, you could always adhere this to a colored piece of cardstock. Maybe you wanted to use pink or red. You can just cut down a piece of cardstock to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and adhere this background die cut to that piece of cardstock, and then adhere the whole thing to a card base. Okay, but here I'm just attaching it directly to the card base because I wanted to have white in the background, and that's the color of my card bases. Next, I cut down a piece of acetate to measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to take my top layer, the one that I put the ink on. I'm going to add glue to the back. Notice I'm putting glue along the frame, and I'm only adding glue around the flowers, and I'm going to add some glue on the back of the hearts. Just be sure that you apply a very thin layer of glue. I'm going to go ahead and use my finger just to rub that glue in to make sure it is a thin layer, because you definitely don't want the glue to seep out onto the acetate. So once I've applied the glue, I'm going to add that piece to my acetate, and I'm just going to use some acrylic blocks to hold that down. And next I'm going to take the white die cut pieces that I've attached to the card base. I'm going to go ahead and add some shaker pieces to the center of these hearts. These are the Sweet Love shaker pieces. They are small little hearts that are in pink. There is a mint green and a black, and there's also white. Such pretty colors. Now if you wanted to add shaker pieces to the other areas, like maybe between the leaves, you can definitely do that, and you'd have to do that at this point. I just want to add them to the hearts so that those are my main focal point. Next, I'm going to add glue to the back of the acetate piece, adding it around the frame. I'm adding it behind the flowers. I'm also going to add a little bit around the hearts, but I'm not going to put the glue on the acetate behind the hearts. Instead, I'm going to put it on the white cardstock, and then I'll just use my finger to rub that in. And then I'll go ahead and add that top layer. Next, I'm going to add a sentiment. So I used the Hugs script word die, and I die cut it out of black cardstock. And I'm going to add some glue to the back, and I'm going to add the word hugs to the center of my hearts. And to finish off this card, I'm taking these pink blush pearls from Pretty Pink Posh, and I'm adding them to the centers of all of the flowers on the front of my card. So once again, if you're interested in purchasing any of these products, I will have them linked down in the description box below. As always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe for more card making tutorials. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day. Bye-bye.